Boom! The Galactic Council chamber doors blasted open. Corvus, the Pac-led ambassador, stormed inside, his tentacles writhing. "Silence!" Corvus roared. The ambassadors froze. Corvus glared at them, his eyes blazing with fear. "A cosmic titan has awoken from its slumber. It is devouring stars, the fabric of our very existence. None of our weapons harm it. Our armies fail." The chamber erupted into frenzied chatter and arguing. Justin Reyes, Terran Defense Force veteran and human representative, stood. "Humanity will stop this titan." The chamber fell silent. "Humans?" Shivkik, the insectoid ambassador, sneered. "You barely have fusion engines. Your weapons are primitive. We dismiss your empty boasts." Justin's eyes narrowed, his fists clenched. He stepped forward, towering over Shivkik. "Never underestimate humanity. We survive, adapt, overcome." The air crackled with tension. "We have a plan, a gravitational anchor. Lure the Titan into a black hole." "Preposterous," Shivkik clacked, his mandibles snapping. "What proof do you have?" Justin extended a vid screen. "With the combined fleets under my command, this will work." Corvus peered at the schematics. "This could trap the Titan." He faced the council. "We have no choice. I propose giving the humans command of our finest ships and warriors." The council erupted into shouting. "Corvus, you can't," Shivkik protested. "We must," Corvus boomed, "or we all perish." Later, Justin stared out a viewport at the assembling fleet. The weight of trillions of lives pressed on him. His jaw clenched, his eyes hardened with resolve. Failure meant the galaxy would die screaming, devoured by an insatiable titan. Justin knew the burden of humanity's responsibility, the sacrifices he would make. This was humanity's reckoning. Time to cancel the apocalypse. Justin marched through the hangar, his eyes scanning the motley crew assembled before him. Warriors, scientists, engineers, the best each species had to offer. His gaze settled on a hulking Pac-led, all rippling muscles and scars. "Thax, right? I want you as my second." Thax glowered, his tentacles twitching. "You? Lead me? Bah!" He slammed a fist against a bulkhead. "I should crush you like a worm." Justin stepped closer, unflinching. "The Council chose me. We're the galaxy's last hope. Get in line or get out." Thax seethed but nodded curtly. Justin turned to a spindly Zorgan hunched over a console. "Dr. Xylox, how's our weapon coming?" Xylox's compound eyes blinked. The gravitational anchor requires modulation to affect such a massive entity. His antennae drooped. "And it needs stellarium, an exceedingly rare element." "Only within dying stars." As the team trained, honing tactics and teamwork, Justin caught Thax's glare. The Pac-led lumbered over, looming. "I challenge you, human. Prove your strength or relinquish command to a real warrior." They squared off in the training room, crew gathered to watch. Thax charged, a brute force battering ram. Justin sidestepped, letting the Pac-led's momentum send him crashing. Thax roared and lunged again. Justin ducked and weaved, landing precise strikes at weak points. Enraged, Thax grappled him. They exchanged vicious blows. Justin twisted free, panting. "Concede!" Thax hesitated, then bowed his head. "To defeat me in hand-to-hand combat, I did not think your kind capable. I will follow you." An alarm blared. "All hands prepare for stellar corona insertion." Justin gripped the command chair as their ship plunged into the seething maelstrom of a dying star. Radiation sensors wailed. The hull groaned under the infernal heat. 2 minutes to target zone, Xylox reported. Long fingers flying over controls, stellarium readings climbing. Justin activated his exosuit. "I'll handle extraction. Thax, the ship is yours. If the star goes critical, leave." He rocketed out into the searing corona, suit straining. His HUD flashed warnings as he laser-cut a gleaming chunk of stellarium from the star's heart. Hauling it back, he tumbled into the airlock just as the ship burst free from the roiling plasma. Suddenly a transmission cut in, laced with static. "Titan sighted. Forge system, 1 trillion lives at risk." "Then we go now." Justin met the eyes of his crew, seeing fear and resolve mirrored back. No time for rest or repairs. The fight is here. One chance to stop this thing. He touched the scorch marks on his suit, feeling the ache of his burns. The spectre of failure loomed, trillions crying out as their worlds burned. We're all that stands between that titan and oblivion. His eyes hardened. Humanity doesn't flinch. Not today. Plot a course for Forge max speed. It's time to save the galaxy. Justin pushed his ship to its limits, his eyes fixed on the looming form of the galaxy-devouring titan ahead. The rest of the crew sat rigid at their stations, processing the nightmare before them. As they entered the titan's wake, they passed the shattered remains of worlds that had once teemed with life. Fragments of moons spun listlessly, asteroids tumbled, scorched and cracked. The titan itself pulsed with stolen stellar energy as it tore into the bloated mass of a gas giant. Justin's eyes narrowed. The monster had to be stopped here before it reached the Forge system. If it sensed the trillions of lives there, nothing would prevent it from abandoning this empty sector to feast on that bounty instead. Jaw set, Justin turned to Xylox. Is the gravitational anchor primed for deployment? Xylox nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the Titan's baleful light. Yes, Captain, but... He hesitated. Detonating it within the gas giant's core will require manual activation, and once begun, the process cannot be aborted. A heavy silence settled over the bridge as the implications sank in. Whoever planted the anchor would be consigning themselves to a cold, crushing oblivion at the planet's heart. Justin inhaled deeply, straightening his shoulders as he stood. Then I'll do it. I can't ask any of you to... No. Thax's growl cut him off. The pack-led warrior stepped forward, his massive form seeming to fill the confined space. You're the only one with the strategic acumen to see this through if things go wrong. This crew needs you. The galaxy needs you. Thax reached out, placing a heavy hand on Justin's shoulder. I will go. My body is riddled with Thaxos's blight. I will not live long enough to see my homeworld again. At least this way, I can die with purpose. Justin searched Thax's eyes and found only resolute acceptance. He clasped the alien's wrist, words failing him. Thax offered a solemn nod, then turned and strode from the bridge. On the view screen, a small ship darted from their hangar bay, speeding toward the embattled gas giant. Justin sank into his chair, his knuckles white on the armrests. The bridge crew watched in taut silence as Thax's ship wove through a gauntlet of energy blasts, the pilot's skill evident in every deft maneuver. The craft plunged into the roiling clouds, vanishing from sight. Long seconds ticked by, each one an eternity. Then a blinding flash seared through the gas giant's core. A shockwave of gravitational force erupted outward, seizing the Titan in its implacable grip. The entity thrashed, its form convulsing as it was dragged inexorably down into the planet's crushing depths. As the final flickers of its essence vanished into the swirling vortex, a ragged cheer went up on the bridge. They had done it. The Titan was contained. Xylox's alarmed shout snapped him back to the present. Captain, gravitational readings are spiking. The Titan, it's absorbing the gas giant's energy. Justin leapt to his feet, cold dread coiling in his gut. On the screen the gas giant roiled, its surface bubbling with strange distortions. Angry lightning forked through its atmosphere as the imprisoned Titan fed, already growing stronger. Justin paced the bridge, his mind racing as he watched the view screen. The gas giant churned, lightning flashing through its turbulent atmosphere. The imprisoned Titan pulsed with malevolent energy, growing stronger by the second. Xylox hesitated, then said, "We could attempt to overload the Titan with a massive burst of exotic matter. The resulting reaction should destabilize its energy form, causing it to dissipate harmlessly." "Where do we find exotic matter?" Justin asked, already dreading the answer. "The only known source in sufficient quantities is a top-secret pack-led research station hidden in the Xanthax Nebula." Justin grimaced. He opened a channel to the Galactic Council. Corvus's scowling face filled the screen. "What is it, human?" "We need access to the Pakled research station in the Xanthax Nebula. It's our only chance to stop the Titan." Corvus sneered. "Absolutely not. You've done enough damage taking command of our fleets. I order you to stand down and let the Council handle this." Justin's eyes narrowed. "With all due respect, Ambassador, we don't have time for debate. Trillions of lives are at stake." "You will not defy me, human," Corvus roared, cutting the transmission. Justin turned to his crew. "We're going in. Covert mission. Dr. Xylox, you're with me. Zik, I need your skills to get us inside." The arachnoid hacker nodded, his many eyes glinting. "I'll get you in, Captain. They won't even know we're there." They boarded a small, unmarked shuttle and slipped away from the fleet. As they approached the nebula, Justin felt a twinge of unease. They were defying the Council, risking everything on this gambit. The research station loomed ahead, a sprawling complex of gleaming metal shrouded in swirling gas. They docked under the guise of a maintenance crew, Zik's hacking skills getting them past security checks. Inside, they made their way to the exotic matter containment vault. Zik plugged into a console, his spindly fingers flying over the controls. Almost there. Just need to bypass the final firewall. Suddenly alarms blared. Blast doors slammed shut, trapping them. Zik cursed. "I tripped a hidden alert. They know we're here." Corvus pushed through the guards, face twisted with rage. "I warned you, human. Now you'll pay for your insolence." Corvus glared, his tentacles writhing. Then slowly he lowered his weapon. "You have courage, human, and as much as it pains me to admit it, you may be right." He turned to the guards. "Stand down. Give them what they need." As they loaded the exotic matter into containment canisters, Corvus pulled Justin aside. "Be careful with that. It's highly unstable. There could be unforeseen consequences." They raced back to the shuttle, the canisters secured. As they sped towards the gas giant, Justin couldn't shake the feeling of dread coiling in his gut. The mission was far from over, and he sensed that the true danger was just beginning. As Justin and his team approached the roiling gas giant, the magnitude of their task weighed heavily upon them. The modified mass driver cannon, a hulking amalgamation of alien technology and human ingenuity, thrummed with power as they loaded the volatile exotic matter into its firing chamber. Dr. Xylox, his compound eyes narrowed in concentration, monitored the containment field, his spindly fingers dancing across the control panel. Suddenly the ship shuddered violently, warning klaxons blaring. The Titan, sensing the impending attack, lashed out with a massive energy surge, destabilizing the containment field. In an instant, the exotic matter exploded, tearing through the ship's hull and sending debris flying. Justin was thrown against a bulkhead, his head slamming into the unyielding metal. Through blurred vision, he saw Dr. Xylox crumpled on the floor, his exoskeleton cracked and oozing viscous fluid. "Damage report," Justin barked, dragging himself to his feet. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, Zik replied, his many eyes wide with fear. "Main engines are offline. We're dead in the water." Justin gritted his teeth. They had come too far to fail now. "Prep the auxiliary craft. We're not done yet." With a skeleton crew of the most essential personnel, Justin transferred to the smaller, more agile vessel. As they detached from the crippled mothership, the gas giant loomed before them, a seething mass of swirling clouds and crackling lightning. Justin took the helm, his hands steady on the controls despite the churning fear in his gut. They plunged into the planet's atmosphere, the ship bucking and shuddering as it fought against the turbulent winds. Lightning forked around them, the thunderous booms reverberating through the hull. Justin wove through the maelstrom, his eyes locked on the sensor readouts that pinpointed the Titan's energy signature. "Approaching firing range," Zik reported, his voice tight with tension. Justin's finger hovered over the trigger, his heart pounding in his ears. Suddenly the Titan's energy signature shifted, pulsing with an intensity that sent dread coursing through Justin's veins. "It's trying to phase out of the core," Zik cried. Justin knew they had only one chance. In a flash of inspiration, he remembered a daring maneuver from Earth's naval history, a tactic born of desperation and audacity. Crazy Ivan, he whispered. Zik hesitated for a split second, then nodded, his mandibles clicking with determination. The ship surged forward, hurtling toward the Titan's pulsing heart. The energy readings spiked, the Titan's form shimmering as it prepared to tear itself free from its prison. At the last possible moment, Justin wrenched the controls, sending the ship veering sharply to the side. The Titan, caught off guard by the sudden change in trajectory, faltered, its energy field flickering. Justin seized the opportunity, slamming his fist down on the trigger. The exotic matter streaked from the cannon, a lance of pure, unstable energy. It struck the Titan's core, and for a moment the universe held its breath. Then the exotic matter reacted, a cataclysmic implosion that tore at the fabric of space-time itself. The Titan's form convulsed, its energy signature warping and twisting as it was sucked into the newborn singularity. Justin wrenched the ship into a desperate climb, fighting against the immense gravitational pull. The hull groaned, the engines straining as they poured every ounce of power into escaping the collapsing Titan. Shock waves buffeted the ship, threatening to tear it apart. But Justin held the course, his knuckles white on the controls. With a final shuddering lurch, the ship broke free, riding the shock waves to safety. Justin sagged back in his chair, his breath coming in ragged gasps. On the view screen, the gas giant was gone, replaced by a swirling vortex of darkness, a miniature black hole, the Titan's final prison. Zik let out a shaky laugh, his relief palpable. "We did it, we actually did it." Justin nodded, a grim smile tugging at his lips. The Titan was gone, but the cost had been high. As he thought of Thax's sacrifice and the battered remnants of his crew, he knew that their victory was bittersweet. The galaxy was safe, but the scars of this battle would linger long after the cheers of triumph had faded. Justin's ship shuddered as it docked at the Allied Galactic Federation outpost. Smoke poured from ruptured conduits, the hull pockmarked by the Titan's onslaught. Justin and his weary crew disembarked, desperate for a moment's respite. But as they stepped into the outpost, their hopes evaporated. Alarms blared. Soldiers and civilians alike sprinted through the corridors, faces tight with panic. Ships streaked away from the docks, fleeing an unseen threat. The ensign, wild-eyed with fear, stammered out a response. "The black hole, sir, it's growing. Comms are going haywire, distress calls flooding in from across the system." Justin's blood ran cold. He sprinted to the nearest communication terminal, his crew close behind. The screen flickered with a barrage of desperate pleas and garbled sensor readings. One image caught his eye, a schematic of the black hole, its event horizon expanding at a terrifying rate. "This isn't right," he muttered, eyes narrowing. "The singularity should be stable, contained by the gravitational anchor." Dr. Xylox, his exoskeleton still bearing the scars of their battle, peered at the data. "The energy signature. It's all wrong. This isn't the result of our exotic matter payload." A new alert flashed across the screen. The Galactic Council, their tone laced with barely restrained hysteria, ordered an immediate evacuation of the system. A fleet of ships, hastily assembled, was dispatched to contain the anomaly. But Justin couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. He turned to Dr. Xylox. "We need to analyze that energy signature, compare it to the Titan's readings." They worked feverishly, poring over the data. With each passing moment, the realization grew more inescapable. The black hole wasn't just an anomaly, it was a gateway. "The Titan," Dr. Xylox breathed, his compound eyes widening. "It wasn't acting alone, this singularity. It's a bridge to another dimension, the Titan's dimension." Justin's fists clenched. "We need to warn the Council. If there are more beings like the Titan out there..." They burst into the Council chamber, the evidence splayed across their datapads. But before they could utter a word, the room plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered to life, casting eerie shadows across the assembled faces. On the view screen, the black hole pulsed with malevolent energy. Then, with a blinding flash, a surge of power erupted from its depths. Ships emerged from the singularity, their hulls twisted and pulsing with the same sickening light that had emanated from the Titan. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Justin watched in horror as the alien ships tore into the Galactic Council's fleet, their weapons slicing through shields like paper. The council's forces, caught utterly off guard, scattered like leaves before a hurricane. Justin felt a cold certainty settle in his gut. The Titan had been a mere scout, a harbinger of something far worse. These beings, born of the void, posed an existential threat to the entire galaxy. Justin gritted his teeth as the Void Wraith ships unleashed a relentless barrage of energy blasts, their weapons tearing through the hulls of the Allied Galactic Federation vessels like tissue paper. The Allied ships returned fire, but their conventional weapons seemed to have no effect on the alien craft, the energy blasts dissipating harmlessly against their shimmering force fields. "Captain, our weapons are useless," Zik cried out, his many eyes wide with fear. "We can't even scratch them." Justin slammed his fist against the console, his mind racing. They couldn't hold out much longer against the Void Wraith's onslaught. Suddenly a memory flashed through his mind, a briefing he had attended back on Earth, where human scientists had unveiled a new weapon, the entropy cannon. "The entropy cannon," Justin muttered, his eyes narrowing. "It's our only chance." He turned to his communications officer. "Get me a line to Earth's defense forces now." The officer nodded, his fingers flying across the console. A moment later, a static-filled image of a human general appeared on the screen. "General, we need the entropy cannon," Justin said, his voice urgent. "It's the only weapon that might work against these Void Wraiths." The general hesitated, his brow furrowed. "Captain Reyes, the entropy cannon is still experimental. We haven't fully tested its effects." "We don't have a choice," Justin insisted. "If we don't try something new, we're all dead." The general sighed, then nodded. "Very well, we'll send the entropy cannon to your coordinates. Godspeed, Captain." As the transmission ended, Justin turned to his crew. "We need to buy time until the entropy cannon arrives. We'll engage the Void Wraiths in hit-and-run attacks, using our speed and maneuverability to our advantage." The crew set to work, their smaller ships darting in and out of the Void Wraith formations, peppering the alien vessels with rapid-fire bursts before quickly retreating. The tactic seemed to work, the Void Wraiths struggling to lock onto the nimble human ships. But the success was short-lived. During one daring attack run, a Void Wraith energy blast caught Justin's ship, sending it spiraling out of control. Alarms blared as the vessel shuddered, systems failing one by one. "Captain, we need to evacuate," Zik shouted over the chaos. "The ship can't take much more." Justin hesitated, his eyes locked on the approaching Void Wraith ships. Every instinct screamed at him to stay and fight. But he knew his crew's lives were more important. The crew scrambled to obey, racing to the escape pods as the ship shook and groaned around them. Justin stayed at the helm, guiding the crippled vessel towards a nearby Allied ship, buying time for his crew to escape. As the last escape pod jettisoned, Justin prepared to make his own exit. But just as he reached the escape pod bay, a massive jolt rocked the ship. A Void Wraith vessel had latched onto the hull, its energy field merging with the ship's own. Before Justin could react, a blinding flash of light filled the corridor. When it faded, he found himself face to face with a Void Wraith, a being of pure energy, its form swirling with darkness and power. Justin reached for his weapon, but the Void Wraith spoke, its voice echoing in his mind. "Wait," it said, its tone strangely gentle. "We do not wish to fight." Justin hesitated, his finger hovering over the trigger. "Then why are you attacking us?" The Void Wraith's energy swirled as if in sorrow. "We are not invaders, but refugees. Our home dimension was destroyed, consumed by a cataclysm beyond your understanding. We seek only a new home, a place to rebuild our civilization." Justin lowered his weapon slowly, realization dawning. The Void Wraiths weren't conquerors, but survivors, desperate to find a new place in the universe. "We can find a way to coexist," Justin said, his voice calm. "There's no need for more violence." The Void Wraith seemed to consider his words, its energy pulsing thoughtfully. But before it could respond, a stray energy blast from an allied ship struck the alien being, its form convulsing in pain and rage. "Treachery," it roared, its voice booming through Justin's mind. "You seek to deceive us, to destroy us." The Void Wraith lashed out, a wave of destructive energy surging from its form. Justin barely managed to dodge the blast, the heat of it searing his skin. He raised his weapon once more, his heart heavy with the knowledge that the chance for peace had been shattered by a single, impulsive act. The battle raged on, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Justin's mind raced as the Void Wraith leader lashed out, a wave of destructive energy surging towards him. He leapt back, the heat of the blast searing his skin. Sparks flew as consoles exploded, the ship shuddering under the onslaught. Justin fumbled for his emergency teleportation device, his fingers slick with sweat. He slammed his hand down on the activation button just as another energy blast tore through the bulkhead, the force of the explosion sending him flying. In a flash of blinding light, Justin materialized on the bridge of the Allied vessel, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The crew stared at him in shock, taking in his battered appearance. Justin pushed himself to his feet, his eyes locking onto the view screen. The entropy cannon hung in space, a sleek, menacing presence. "Status report," Justin barked, striding towards the command console. "The cannon is fully charged and ready, Captain," a crew member replied, his voice tight with tension. The bridge fell silent, the crew holding their breath. For a long moment there was no response. Then, slowly, the Void Wraith ships began to pull back, their energy weapons powering down. Justin let out a slow breath, his shoulders sagging with relief. He turned to the comm officer. "Open a channel to the Void Wraith flagship." The view screen flickered, and the image of the Void Wraith leader appeared, its form still pulsing with anger. Justin stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. "I understand your plight," he said, his eyes locked on the alien's swirling energy. "You are refugees, seeking a new home after the destruction of your own. I want to help you find that home, but not through conquest and bloodshed. I propose a meeting between your leaders and the Galactic Council to negotiate a treaty that will allow your people to settle in a designated sector of the galaxy. In exchange, we ask that you share your advanced technology and energy manipulation abilities with us." The Void Wraith leader remained silent, considering Justin's words. Finally it spoke, its voice echoing in Justin's mind. "You would act as a neutral mediator in these negotiations?" it asked, its tone cautious. Justin nodded. "I give you my word as a representative of the Allied Galactic Federation and as a human who believes in the power of diplomacy." The Void Wraith leader paused, then inclined its head. "Very well, Captain Reyes, we agree to a temporary truce and will participate in these negotiations." Justin let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Thank you. I look forward to working with you to find a peaceful solution." As the negotiations began, Justin found himself spending long hours with the Void Wraith leader, who introduced itself as Nexus. They pored over star charts and scientific data, seeking to understand each other's cultures and find common ground. "Your energy manipulation abilities are incredible," Justin remarked, watching as Nexus reshaped a holographic model of a barren planet into a lush, verdant world. Nexus pulsed with pride. "It is the core of our being, the essence of what makes us Void Wraiths. With it, we can create life from nothingness, reshape the very fabric of the universe." Justin leaned forward, his eyes alight with excitement. "And you would be willing to share this technology with us in exchange for a new home?" Nexus nodded. "We have seen the destruction that our abilities can cause, when wielded without wisdom or restraint. By sharing our knowledge with your people, we hope to foster a new era of cooperation and understanding between our races." As the negotiations progressed, the Galactic Council grew more and more amenable to the idea of helping the Void Wraiths terraform a cluster of uninhabited planets into a new home. The promise of access to the Void Wraiths' advanced technology was a powerful incentive, and even the most skeptical council members began to come around. But just as the final details of the treaty were being hammered out, a klaxon blared through the council chamber. Justin leapt to his feet, his heart pounding. "What's happening?" he demanded, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of danger. A holographic display flared to life in the center of the chamber, showing a fleet of void wraith ships descending on the council's flagship. Energy beams lanced out from the attacking vessels, slicing through the flagship's shields like they were made of paper. Nexus let out a cry of rage and disbelief. "Zentos, he has betrayed us, betrayed everything we have worked for." Justin spun to face Nexus, his eyes wide. "Who is Zentos?" "A hardliner, a fanatic who believes that the Void Wraiths should conquer the galaxy rather than cooperate with the other races. He has always opposed these negotiations, but I never dreamed he would go this far." Nexus's form shimmered with barely contained fury. "He means to assassinate the council leaders and seize control of the entropy cannon. With that weapon under his command, he could bring the galaxy to its knees." Justin's jaw tightened. He turned to the council members, his voice ringing with authority. "Evacuate immediately. Get to your ships and go. I'll deal with Zentos." As the council members fled, Justin and Nexus raced towards the flagship's hangar bay. They had to reach the entropy cannon before Zentos could claim it. If they failed, the fragile peace they had worked so hard to build would be shattered, and the galaxy would once again be plunged into war. Justin's heart pounded as he raced through the flagship's corridors, the sounds of battle echoing all around him. Zentos's rebels had struck without warning, catching the council off guard. Justin ducked as an energy blast sizzled past his head, the heat of it singeing his hair. He returned fire, his pulse rifle spitting bolts of superheated plasma at the attacking Void Wraiths. Beside him, Nexus's form shimmered with barely contained rage. "I will deal with the traitors among my people," the Void Wraith leader snarled. "You must secure the entropy cannon before Zentos can claim it." Justin nodded grimly. "Understood. Watch your back out there." They split up, Nexus charging towards a group of Void Wraiths locked in combat with the Council's guards, while Justin sprinted towards the ship's armory, where the entropy cannon was stored. As he rounded a corner, Justin skidded to a halt. A familiar figure crouched beside a sparking control panel, its many eyes narrowed in concentration. "Zik," Justin called out, lowering his weapon. The arachnoid hacker looked up, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "Captain, thank the stars I found you." Justin hurried over, glancing at the control panel. "What are you doing here?" Zik's claws flew over the keys, his movements a blur. "I've been monitoring the ship's systems, trying to find a way to stop Zentos. I think I've discovered a weakness in the Void Wraith's energy matrix, a vulnerability we can exploit." Justin's eyes widened. "What kind of vulnerability?" "A virus, Captain. One that could neutralize their powers without causing permanent harm. But to upload it, we need to access the ship's central computer core." Justin grimaced. The computer core was located deep within the ship's engineering section, heavily guarded and fortified. "That won't be easy." Zik nodded, his eyes glinting with determination. "No, but it may be our only chance to stop Zentos without bloodshed." Justin hesitated for only a moment before making his decision. "Lead the way." They fought their way through the ship, Justin's rifle blazing as he cut down Zentos's elite guards. Zik scuttled along the walls and ceilings, his agility and hacking skills allowing him to bypass locked doors and disable automated defense turrets. Finally, they reached the computer core, a vast chamber filled with pulsing lights and humming machinery. Justin and Zik hurried to the central console, the hacker's claws already dancing across the keys. Suddenly, a cold voice cut through the air. "Step away from the console, human." Justin spun around, his rifle snapping up to aim at the figure that emerged from the shadows. Zentos, his energy form crackling with malevolent power, stood before them, flanked by a dozen of his most loyal followers. The rebel leader laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You are in no position to make demands, Captain. He gestured towards a nearby screen, which showed a schematic of the entropy cannon. "I have rigged the cannon to overload. With a single command, I can destroy this ship and everyone on it. The Council, the loyal Void Wraiths, your precious crew, all will be lost unless you stand down." Justin's heart sank as he realized the truth of Xentos's words. He couldn't risk the lives of everyone on board, not even to stop the rebel leader. Slowly he lowered his rifle, letting it clatter to the floor. Xentos grinned triumphantly, his energy form pulsing with satisfaction. "A wise choice, human. Now watch as I claim the entropy cannon and usher in a new era of Void Wraith supremacy." As the rebel leader gloated, Justin caught Zik's eye, giving the hacker a subtle nod. Zik's claws twitched, and he initiated the virus upload, his movements so quick and subtle that Xentos didn't even notice. The effect was immediate and devastating. Xentos and his followers convulsed, their energy forms flickering and wavering as the virus tore through their matrix. They screamed in rage and pain, their powers fading until they were nothing more than insubstantial wisps, drifting helplessly in the air. Within minutes the flagship was secure, the Council members and their Void Wraith allies rounding up the powerless rebels and locking them away in the ship's brig. Justin and Nexus stood side by side, watching as the last of the traitors were led away. "It's over," Nexus said, his voice heavy with a mix of relief and sorrow. "But the cost has been high." Justin nodded, his own heart heavy with the weight of the lives lost in the battle. "We have a chance now, though, a chance to build a better future for all our peoples." As the ship settled into an uneasy calm, Justin and Nexus turned their attention to the task of rebuilding, starting with the peace treaty that would bind their races together in a new era of cooperation and understanding. As the Void Wraith crisis faded into memory, the Galactic Council convened a grand ceremony to celebrate the signing of the historic peace treaty. Justin and his team stood at the heart of the proceedings, their faces lined with a mix of pride and solemnity as they were hailed as the saviors of the galaxy. The Council chamber, a vast circular room with soaring walls and intricate holographic displays, was filled to capacity with representatives from every corner of the known universe. At the center of the room, a shimmering projection of the treaty hung in the air, its text glowing with the promise of a new era of cooperation and understanding. As the ceremony reached its climax, the Council leaders took turns delivering speeches, praising the bravery and sacrifice of those who had fought to defend the galaxy. When it came time to honor the fallen, a hush fell over the room. Images of the lost flashed across the holographic displays, their faces etched with the determination and courage that had defined their final moments. Among them was Thax, the Pakled warrior who had given his life to trap the Titan within the gas giant's core. As his image faded from view, the gathered dignitaries bowed their heads in a moment of silent reflection, their hearts heavy with the weight of his sacrifice. As the ceremony drew to a close, Justin found himself approached by Dr. Xylox, the Zorgan scientist's compound eyes, glinting with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Captain Reyes," he said, his voice low and urgent, "I've made a discovery that I think you should see." Justin followed Dr. Xylox to a secluded corner of the chamber, where the scientist brought up a series of holographic displays. "I've been analyzing the data from the entropy cannon," he explained, his claws flying over the controls, "and I've found something disturbing." He pointed to a pulsing energy signature on one of the displays, its waveform a jagged, chaotic jumble. "This is the cannon's energy signature," he said, "and it matches perfectly with the signature of the ancient alien artifact that first alerted us to the Titan's presence." Justin leaned in closer, his brow furrowed. "What are you saying, Doctor?" Dr. Xylox zoomed in on the artifact's image, revealing intricate patterns etched into its surface. "I believe the artifact is a beacon," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "designed to summon the Titan and its Void Wraith creators to our galaxy." Justin's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "The Titan's arrival was no accident," he breathed. "It was part of a deliberate plan, set in motion by an unknown entity." Dr. Xylox nodded grimly. "And that's not all," he said, bringing up a new set of images. "I've been studying the Void Wraith's historical records, and I've discovered something even more disturbing." The images showed a swirling vortex of darkness, shot through with streaks of sickly pulsing light. At its center, a gargantuan entity could be seen, its form a writhing mass of tendrils and gaping, toothless maws. "The Void Wraiths were not the only ones fleeing their home dimension," Dr. Xylox said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They were followed by a far more sinister force, an ancient enemy that even they fear." He brought up a translation of the Void Wraith text, the words glowing with an ominous red light. "They call them the Devourers," he said, "and they feed on the energy of entire galaxies, leaving nothing but darkness and entropy in their wake." Justin's heart raced as he processed the information. "The Titan and the Void Wraiths were just the beginning," he said, his voice grim. "The vanguard of something much, much worse." They brought their findings to the Galactic Council, the chamber falling silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. The council leaders conferred in hushed tones, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. Finally, Corvus, the Paclid ambassador, stepped forward. "Captain Reyes," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of his words, "the Council has come to a decision. We cannot ignore this threat to our galaxy, to our very existence." He gestured to the holographic display, where the image of the black hole gateway loomed large. "We need you and your team to travel through the gateway," he said, "to gather intelligence on these Devourers, in the hopes of finding a way to stop them before they consume everything in their path." Justin's jaw clenched as he absorbed the gravity of the mission. He knew that stepping through that gateway would likely be a one-way trip, a journey into the heart of an unknowable darkness. But he also knew that he couldn't turn his back on the galaxy, on the countless lives that hung in the balance. He met Corvus's gaze, his eyes hard with determination. "I accept," he said, his voice steady. "My team and I will do whatever it takes to protect the galaxy, to ensure that the sacrifices of those who came before us were not in vain." As Justin prepared for the mission, he couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that clung to him like a second skin. He checked and double-checked his equipment, his fingers lingering on the well-worn grip of his pulse rifle. He thought of his friends, his loved ones, the life he was leaving behind. He knew that he might never see them again, that the Devourers might consume him body and soul, leaving nothing but a cold, empty void in his wake. But he also knew that he had no choice. The fate of the galaxy, perhaps even the universe, rested on his shoulders. He was the only one who could face the darkness, the only one who could lead his team into the unknown and come out the other side. With a final heavy sigh, Justin stepped up to the black hole gateway, its edges shimmering with an otherworldly light. He could feel the eyes of the galaxy upon him, a million worlds holding their breath as he prepared to cross the threshold. He turned to his team, his gaze sweeping over their faces. Dr. Xylox, his compound eyes glinting with a mix of fear and determination. Zik, the arachnoid hacker, his spindly fingers twitching with nervous energy. Nexus, the Void Wraith leader, his energy form pulsing with a grim resolve. "This is it," Justin said, his voice echoing in the silence of the chamber. "There's no turning back now. We're the galaxy's last hope, the only thing standing between the Devourers and total annihilation." He squared his shoulders, his jaw set with determination. "Whatever happens," he said, "I want you to know that it's been an honor serving with you. We're more than a team. We're a family. And we'll face this together, no matter what." With a final nod, Justin turned back to the gateway, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the pull of the unknown, the tug of the void that lay beyond. His team followed close behind, their forms swallowed up by the void one by one. In a matter of seconds they were gone, leaving nothing but a ripple in the fabric of space-time to mark their passing. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for a sign, a signal, anything to indicate that Justin and his team had made it through. But the gateway remained silent, its depths inscrutable and unreadable. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still there was no word. Some began to whisper that the team had been lost, consumed by the Devourers like so many before them. But others held out hope, clinging to the belief that Justin and his team were still out there, fighting the good fight, doing whatever it took to protect the galaxy from the encroaching darkness. And so the galaxy waited, suspended in a state of uncertain anticipation, caught between hope and despair. The Galactic Council continued its work, fortifying defenses and preparing for the worst, even as they prayed for a miracle. But deep down they all knew the truth. The fate of the galaxy, of everything they held dear, rested on the shoulders of Justin Reyes and his team, and until they returned, victorious or not at all, the galaxy would remain in the grip of an all-consuming, ever-present fear. A fear of the Devourers and the cold, empty void that awaited them all. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.